Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and really appreciate you guys swinging by the channel to check the video out. And guys, today we're going to be talking about the disgusting spectacle that's going on at Lake Murray at the Bassmaster Elite Series tournament down there, better known as the Lake Murray Live Scopers Benefit Tournament. I'm going to give you guys some thoughts on that. It's been a while since we've talked about live scope, and it's in the forefront again, so we're going to get into that in today's video. Also guys, big thank you out there. Just wanted to thank everybody out there that's taken time to subscribe to Intuitive Angling here and like the videos. Much appreciated. Thanks everybody out there that's been supporting the channel through channel memberships and using my Tackle Warehouse link in the description of each video. Big thank you for me and my family, so I just want to let you guys know that. Okay guys, I tuned in a little bit. They got the bat. Today was the first day, or yesterday, the time of this video, yesterday was the first day of the Bassmaster Elite Series at Lake Murray. And I had to tune in just to see what's going on. And I tuned in for about 5 minutes. And like most all the other people that tune in, when they saw what was going on, I immediately tuned out, as with everybody else did too, because it's just a spotlighters benefit tournament. It's like you're looking at the back of guys' heads the whole time, staring down at the dang screen. Typical live scope event. You know, we had a little reprieve from it, a minor reprieve, you know, during the spawn, but now that we're out of it again, it's going to be full-blown spotlighting the rest of the year, especially as they get into the smallmouth tournaments. And the more that I watched it, for like the 5 or 10 minutes that I watched it, the more absolutely disgusted that I got just to see this normalization that has completely taken over the sport with the forward-facing sonar and what it's doing, you know, to everything that we hold dear in the sport. You know, one of the things about it that I've always said is I'm really disappointed at a lot of the veteran anglers that have not had the backbone to stand up against this. And you see the results of it. I'll take a prime example as Greg Hackney. I'm not saying Greg did or didn't stand up for it, but Greg Hackney, I have a tremendous amount of respect for him as an angler. He's an absolute hammer, in my opinion. And Greg's in like 90-something place at Lake Murray. I'm assuming he's not spotlighting because, you know, he fishes traditionally techniques more. I think he does live scope occasionally. But the point of what I'm saying on this is you've got guys that are legends in the sport and hammers in the sport, like Greg Hackney. Every single event that takes place on the Elite Series tournament where we have this normalization of forward-facing sonar, it's basically a nail in the coffin in anglers like Greg Hackney. Anglers like Greg Hackney, or, you know, traditional bass anglers that are known for their power fishing skills, they're never going to win another tournament, guys. Their days of winning tournaments are over. I don't care. You can still make the classic and occasionally have a good finish, but you simply cannot win tournaments unless you're spotlighting for bass. That's the way it is. That's what our sport has completely morphed into. And the thing about it is, all of the guys in this tournament, all you guys, the Elite Series pros or whatever, you should be embarrassed. If you're doing this, you should be embarrassed about what you're doing here, because I'm embarrassed for you for doing it. Your ability, I don't care if you're a young angler or an old angler or whatever, your ability to decipher blips on an electronic video game screen is not indicative of your skill as a bass angler. There's no correlation there. When somebody does well live scoping or spotlighting for bass, I don't care if they win the tournament or not. I do not consider it legitimate. When you have to rely on an umbilical cord, an electronic video game umbilical cord, where you got your head glued at the screen, or even now these Apple Vision goggles, it's the same thing, and you're not even focused on anything except that damn screen down there in order to catch fish, whatever you catch doing that is legalized cheating. I'll say it again. It's an illegitimate catch. It's legalized cheating, regardless if people say, well, it's legal, so I'm going to do it. That doesn't make it right. There are a bunch of rules on this planet that we have to go by, that just because it's legal does not mean that it's right. And forward-facing sonar is a prime example of that. So, thing about what we've got here, we've got this dilemma now, because it's obvious that Bass and MLF are not going to do anything. They're not going to be adults in the room. In my opinion, they don't give a crap about the long-term sustainability of the sport, even though they say they do. You can't rely on Bassmaster or MLF or any other tournament organization to do the right thing and ban this technology that's in the process of destroying our sport because you have money involved in it. Money is the root of all evil, and forward-facing sonar is the dark side and evil when it comes to the future sustainability, tradition, and heritage of the sport, in my opinion and the opinion of many other people out there. So don't think that Bassmaster or MLF are going to have these rule changes. They're going to put these limitations and get rid of forward-facing sonar. As long as Garmin and Humminbird and Lowrance are writing checks to tournament organizations out there, it's not going to happen, guys. It has got to happen through the consolidation of a revolt from the anglers against this. Until we get consolidated enough to where the viewers stop watching the videos, until they stop supporting the organizations that are endorsing this type of destructive technology, we're never going to get rid of it. And the problem that you have about it is you have a segment, which is a vocal minority. It's a powerful vocal minority of anglers and industry people that are trying as hard as they can to normalize this technology. That's, oh, it's great. We're learning so much about the bass. It's here to stay. Keep up with the technology. You're going to get left in the dust, Grandpa. I've heard it all out there. It's propaganda, guys. It's nothing but pure, irresponsible propaganda. And the change on this, if we're going to save the sport, and we're going to save the legacy and tradition and heritage, mystery and magic and sustainability of bass fishing, we have got to limit and ban this forward-facing sonar or any other technological advancements that allow people to catch fish that are in the past impossible to know that they're there. All these dudes out there that are spotlighting for bass at Lake Murray right now, they never would have known any of those fish that are out there without the use of that umbilical cord. That's all it is. And if you, and here's why I say that it's a minority. The majority of the bass anglers in this country is a silent majority, and the majority of them are against this. And some people are really adamant against it, like me. Some people are like sort of apathetic, and it could go either way. Some people don't like it, but it's like whatever. The whole thing about this is it's never going to change unless it comes from the anglers. The anglers are going to be the only thing that changes this, and the viewers and the fans of the sport. So the point is, if you guys out there, if you're concerned about the future of the sport, and you love this sport, and you have an appreciation for the heritage and the tradition, and the fact that bass fishing, so much of it is about the unknown. That is the powerful PowerPoint of bass fishing, is you don't need to know what's out there. You don't need to know that those fish are swimming out there in 100 foot of water. That is the mystery and the magic of the sport that we need to maintain. And those fish need that offshore deep water sanctuary. There's a reason why those fish move out there. They move out there to get away from the fishing pressure. And if we have developed technology that leaves fish nowhere to hide, which they don't have anywhere to hide anymore, it doesn't take Einstein to see that this is going to be a destructive piece of technology as the sport advances and more people start using it, the more it gets normalized, the more available it is to the public. It is a recipe for disaster in the sport. And I'm counting on the responsible adults in the room in the sport to take a stand against it. And all you guys out there that have a big platform, I'm telling you right now, you better stand up, you better grow a pair, and you better start coming out against this, or in another 20, 30, 40, I don't know how many years from now, this sport that we know and love right now is not going to be anymore. And you're not, and this, it's going to be completely, any tournament success out there is going to be completely relegated to the anglers out there that know how to decipher blips on a screen. The whole thing about understanding seasonal movements and patterns and bass behavior and how they relate to structure and how they relate to different cadences and lure profiles and all of the countless number of controlled and uncontrolled variables that require decades of dirt time and time on the water to learn, that honors the fish and honors the sport. It's not worth anything. It's just like all these guys, like, and I'm using Hackney as an example because Hackney is a prime example of, I love the way Greg Hackney fishes. He's a power fisherman, flips that big 1 ounce jig, throws a spinnerbait, all the stuff that requires true skill and a true art form as an angler. guys like Greg Hackney, not just Greg, but guys in his wheelhouse like that, those guys they're not going to win anymore. That's over. So all of the skills that these anglers have acquired, that's taken decades of being away from their family and spending hundreds of thousands of dollars, blood, sweat, and tears, all of that work that they put in for decades is not worth nothing now. Because when you got some guy that started bass fishing 3 years ago, that's 19 years old or 20 years old, and admits that they don't do anything except stare at a live scope screen, and then they're winning everything and taking everybody's money out there, it's no different than freaking getting pumped up on steroids and some guy hitting 75 home runs in a season. There's no different. It's an illegitimate way of success. And most of the people can understand that. If you explain this from just a foundational perspective to most people who don't even fish, they can understand it. It's like they say it's cheating. It is cheating. It's legalized cheating. So don't get distracted, guys. Do not get distracted by the vocal minority of people out there that are just trying to normalize this technology at the expense of the sustainability and the heritage of the sport. And what's going on at the Bassmaster tournament at Lake Murray right now is a prime example of that. I would encourage everybody not to tune in to that particular show as a show of support against this. And eventually, if on not just Bassmaster, but MLF, every tournament organization that has any type of live feed, if enough anglers refuse to watch those programs, then they will be forced into the position to do the right thing, get rid of that technology, and get back to a foundational baseline where you have some set of tradition and heritage to the sport that does not change. Every single other sport out there has that, except bass fishing. Every other sport has recognized the fact that they have got to have an equipment baseline to level the playing field and to maintain the integrity of that sport, except bass fishing. Bass fishing organizations are the most irresponsible group of people I have ever seen when it comes to this technology. And I'm not saying they don't do some good things as tournament organizations, because some of them do. But if a tournament organization condones and allows and supports the use of forward-facing sonar technology or any other advancements in that, it is an irresponsible, dangerous trend that they're on, and it needs to stop. And I'm just sick of it. Everybody's sick of it. I mean, everybody's sick of it unless the people, except the people out there that are making money from it. They're the only ones that are not sick of it. The only anglers that are not sick of it are the ones out there that don't have any bass fishing skills to catch bass like, bass should be caught. That's the problem that you have with it. So stand up against it, guys. Get vocal, get loud, because I'm telling you right now, it's creeping up on us. And I'll say it, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. In 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years from now, the people out there that have enabled this technology to take over our sport are going to be looked upon as the biggest villains that have ever entered the sport for what they did to it. And the people out there that have fought the good fight, and all you guys up there that stand out against forward-facing sonar and that type of technology, and you fight that fight against it, you will be considered the heroes in this sport. And right now, we've got a bunch of people in this country that have their head in the sand. They're in an information silo. They surround themselves with no alternative points of view. They're incapable of understanding the bigger problem and the bigger picture here. And it's a problem, guys, that you hear me talk about this all the time on my channel. And a lot of you guys goof on me and you're tired of it, and you say, Randy's bitching and moaning about forward-facing sonar again. I'm not just doing it to hear myself talk. I love this sport, man. I have been fishing in the sport longer than 95% of you guys watching this video out there. I live it. That's all I've wanted to do since I was a little kid. And I see what's happening. I have seen the degradation of our fisheries across the country that it's completely went downhill, and you've got this an illusion that everything's okay because this forward-facing sonar technology is allowing anglers to tap into a population of fish that have been protected in the past, that needed to be protected. And all you guys out there that feel like, oh, this is great, we're learning so much about the sport, we're learning so much about the bass, bullshit. You don't need to know that. There's a reason that you don't need to know that. And that reason is to protect the long-term sustainability of that sport. Those fish have got to have a place to get away from the fishing pressure. They've got to have a place to hide out there. because as our fishing pressure increases on our lakes and we get more people just out on the water in general fishing, you have a segment of that bass fishing population that keeps bass. Make no mistake about it, guys. Just because somebody says they're a bass fisherman does not mean they're a catch and release bass fisherman. And as you get more anglers in the sport and you get more anglers using this forward-facing sonar technology, you're going to see more and more bass continually getting taken out of the lake. And you're going to see a degradation in the fishing quality. I've already seen it. Everybody has. Any one of you guys out there that fish traditional bass fishing means, I don't care what it is, you have seen a decline in the fishery over the past 5 years. I don't care if you're on Lake Gunnersville, if you're at Table Rock Lake, anywhere in this country. If you're a traditional bass fishing and you do not use forward-facing sonar, you have seen a precipitous decline in the quality of fishing. And just because the tournament weights are maintaining their consistency, that is an illusion created by this technology that are tapping in to those fish that need to be protected, and they're out there catching with video game fishing. So guys, stand up against it, rail against it, get loud against it, let the tournament organizations know. Stop watching tournament shows that have forward-facing sonar. If you see some dude staring down at a screen at the back of his head, turn the TV off. That's the only way we're going to change this. So anyway, guys, join me, fight the good fight. You know, you're on the right side of the history. That if you guys are one of those people out there that condone and endorse forward-facing sonar, shame on you. You need to start reevaluating your whole perspective on fishing. So talk later.